Shalom. We speak to you from the land of Israel. We speak to you from the West Bank, from one of the new settlements, from liberated territory. We are proud to be here. We are pleased to be here. We live in a very good community, a large community. God willing, it will increase and grow. And we are Jewish, and we are proud to be Jewish. We keep the Jewish religion. And we have studied the Bible. We studied history. We have studied numerous disciplines, numerous subjects connected with the lost 10 tribes, connected with the Israelite nations. And we have come across proofs and evidence that the lost 10 tribes are now to be amongst Western peoples, are now found amongst Western peoples. And they are especially dominant in the USA. The USA represents the tribes of Joseph. And amongst the tribes of Joseph, Ephraim and Manasseh in the USA, Manasseh is predominant, even though there are many there from Ephraim. We have proof of this. We have numerous proofs of this. We have hundreds of books, large books, short books, plenty of books on the subject dedicated to specific facets, different facets to specific aspects of the subject. We've gone into it in great detail. We find over time that the problem is that by concentrating on individual subjects, going in the ins and outs and the proofs and backwards and forwards and in the great detail concerning individual points of evidence, we lose sight of the overall picture. By counting the trees, by looking at the trees, you lose sight of the forest. The wood is no longer apparent, or it becomes less important. So we want to get back to that. So this present talk is trying to give a few major points that taken together help prove that lost 10 tribes are to be found amongst Western nations, especially amongst the USA of our time. This could be called a cheat sheet. In other words, a sheet of proofs that you can look at very quickly and remind yourselves of the overall points behind them and see how the different points link up with each other, join each other, supplement each other, evidence of one another, and they prove the case. So first of all, surprise, surprise, we have the Jew boy aspect. The Jew boy. The Jews. The Jews are a separate people. The Jews keep the Jewish religion, believe in the Jewish religion, or do not deny it. At the fringes, you have a lot who, with the Wahhabis, but nevertheless, somehow or other they are attached to it. And the Jews have been persecuted throughout history for more than 2,000 years. Even in ancient times in Egypt, 3,000 years ago they were persecuted. The Jews are separated from the 10 tribes. The Jews have remained visible, distinctive, identifiable as Israelites. Because the lost 10 tribes lost consciousness, lost awareness of their Israelite ancestry, of their Israelite origins, of their Hebrew origins. Nevertheless, in their heart, in their soul, in the direction they went and how they evolved, they gave an exemplification of the Hebrew ancestry, as we have shown. And nevertheless, it is the Jews. The Jews have taken the brunt of the hatred of the Gentiles. The Gentiles instinctively hate Hebrews. They dislike them. They feel inferior to them. They feel disadvantaged when in comparison with them. It doesn't matter if in reality the Jews are less wealthy than they are, less healthy than they are, less this and that, less handsome than they are. They still dislike the Jews, even though in many cases the Jews are also can be healthy, wealthy, and also good-looking at times. Still dislike the Jews. They dislike the Jews no matter what. And this is like a gut reaction amongst many of them. We see now in Gaza, the Arabs attack Jewish citizens, peaceful Jewish citizens. They attack girls and children, and they do horrible things to them, and they kill them and torture them and so on, and they even photograph themselves, do videotapes and put them up for everyone to see. They're proud of what they're doing. And the Jews react as anyone would react, even less so, but they still react. They defend themselves, they try and get their hostages back. They punish the evildoers. They do what they can to prevent the evildoers continuing their nefarious actions and their wicked machinations. The Jews stop them, or try to stop them, and all the world condemns them, especially the non-Israelite nations, especially the third world countries, or the European countries, or all over the world. They condemn the Jews. And also in the USA, the intellectuals, the people in the universities, they too attack the Jews and criticizing the Jews for being human beings, for standing up for themselves, even to a small degree. So this seems to, and meanwhile in Africa, in Asia, all over the world, minorities are being persecuted, wicked things are being done to all kinds of vulnerable communities, and no one cares. Only where the Jews are involved do they make protests. Only where the Jews are involved do they get all worked up about it. Do they have demonstrations and all kinds of antagonistic actions against the Jews. So this is what we have, all kinds of antagonistic actions, all directed against the Jews. So this is what we have, this is a reality, and we find that the Americans, people in America, come to our defense, instinctively identify with us, because there is an identification, there is an underlying ancestral connection between the Jews and the lost in tribes in the USA, and they are feeling it. They are feeling it because they represent Manasseh, they represent Joseph, and according to tradition, the liberation, the beginning of the revelation of the redemption of the 10 tribes will begin from the tribe of Manasseh, and that is where we find Manasseh to be dominant in the USA, and this is what we are seeing, and before our eyes this is happening. So that is a point we have, the Jew boy aspect. See, another point is the Great Seal. What is the Great Seal? It's an official symbol of the USA, the Great Seal. And what does the Great Seal have? It has a picture. It has a picture of a pyramid. Above the pyramid, it has the words Annuit Coptis, meaning he has favored our enterprise. He has favored our undertaking. It's a Latin expression, but it means that's what it means. He's favored our undertaking. He's favored what we have done, what we are doing. And after these words, you have an eye, an all-seeing eye representing the eye of providence. And under the eye you have a pyramid with 13 steps, 13 steps, parallel to the 13 tribes of Israel. We all know that there are 12 tribes of Israel. But we also should know, or will know, when we read the Bible, that before he died, Jacob, who was also known as Israel, the forefather of the Israelite tribes, he blessed Joseph, one of his 12 sons, his favorite son, Joseph, and he said that the two sons of Joseph, Ephraim and Manasseh, will be counted as separate tribes in their own right and equal to his other sons. In other words, he made his two grandsons equal to his sons, these two grandsons equal to his sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. So altogether there were 13 tribes. And one of these tribes was Manasseh, so the fact that there were 13 tribes is important to him. And so we have 13 steps on the pyramid. And this reminds us that where Jacob gave a special blessing, he blessed all of his sons. all the 12 tribes were blessed. We find the 12 tribes of Israel amongst the descendants of Israel. We find amongst the Jews where the tribes of Judah, Benjamin and Levi are predominant, but you also have minority elements of the other tribes amongst the Jewish people. And then you find 10 tribes amongst the Western European peoples, such as Finland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Netherlands, Belgium, France, Switzerland, England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and the offshoots of Britain, and Australia, New Zealand and Canada. That is where the 10 tribes are to be found. And also in America, especially in America in our time, especially in America and the USA. Israel, before he died, he blessed all of the tribes. Each one and every single one of the tribe had their own distinct individual blessing that was suited to the inner, the inner soul, the inner being. And Joseph received a special blessing. Joseph was referred to as a favorite son in the Hebrew, with the eye of providence above. That's what it says, with the eye of providence above, just like we see on the Great Seal. Daughters, that is, the other tribes marched with the bull. The bull represents Joseph. Joseph was a favorite son. Joseph was represented by the bull, as we find in the biblical passages. The firstborn of the bull. Also we find in the pyramid, in the Midrash, by the rabbis. And the early rabbis in the time of the Talmud, the Midrash says that each and every tribe had its own symbol. And what was the symbol of Joseph? The symbol of Joseph was a picture of Egypt. And what is a picture of Egypt? It is a pyramid. When you look at that pyramid, you think of Egypt. So that was the symbol of Joseph, and that is what we find on the Great Seal. Also, the words his favourite enterprises, his favourite undertaking are reflective, refer to the blessing, or in a subconscious way, through the eye of providence, refer to the special blessing given to Joseph, the civilization mission. Have the civilization, the mission of civilization. The 10 tribes were together with the elements of Judah. There were 12 tribes together in one kingdom. Had King Saul, then King David, then King Solomon, then King Rehoboam, the son of Solomon. In the time of Rehoboam, the 10 tribes separated under Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, and they separated and they set up their own kingdom. And sometime later they were conquered by the Assyrians and taken into exile and lost consciousness of their ancestry. Why did this happen? This happened because they had sinned, because they had turned away from the pathway that they were supposed to set themselves upon. But nevertheless, there was a divine purpose behind it. The divine purpose was that the 10 tribes should go down to the level of the Gentiles, go down to the level of the non-Israelites, become like them, and then evolve upwards and bring the rest of the world up with them. There was civilized humanity. Moshe Davidiy spoke of this. He was a great rabbi and he spoke of this in his works. And what he said has been repeated in different ways by other rabbis, including Rabbi Abraham Yitzchak Cohen Kook and his followers. And they say that in effect the Israel, that is Ephraim, Joseph, went down to the level of the Gentiles in order to elevate them, to bring them up from inside. And that is what the 10 tribes have been doing. First, all of the 10 tribes, the Dutch and the French, helped civilize mankind. So did the Scandinavians in their own way. And then after that, and even Sweden, and even Switzerland, with its neutrality, has done much to civilize mankind. But especially the British Empire did this. The British Empire ruled over 1/4 of the world's population at one stage, and they elevated the peoples. They ruled over, on the whole, they were beneficial. They may not have been as good as we would have liked them to have been in hindsight, but on the whole, compared to what the peoples that ruled over were before they came, they elevated them in most cases. And after them came the USA and the American hegemony, which has been more through money, through influence, through example, through encouragement, through aid, But nevertheless it has had the same effect. They have civilized mankind, and all the world is influenced by America, and on the whole, with a lot of reservations, but on the whole they have been a positive element in uplifting all of mankind and changing the face of humanity in a more positive direction, and that was the task they had. That was the task of Joseph, and this has been fulfilled by America. Another thing is the blessing to Joseph. As we said, Joseph, all the tribes received a blessing, but Joseph received a special blessing, even more than all of them. And we see this. We see this. But Abraham was blessed. Abraham was blessed. In Genesis 22 we hear that I will bless you, and I will greatly multiply your seed as the stars of the heaven and as the sand that is on the seashore. And your descendants will inherit the cities of their enemies, the gates of their enemies. And through your children shall be blessed all the nations of the world, because you hearken to my voice. That all the nations of the earth will be blessed through the seed of Abraham. You had Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jacob was renamed Israel, and they were the ancestors of the Israelite nation. So from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the blessings developed and were given, and Joseph received a special blessing to be greater than all of them. And that is what we find in the USA, is greater than all of them. And before that, it was the British who was greater than all of them. And the USA, in a sense, is an extension, a continuation of the British Empire.